Hi, this is Joe from Citrus County Porch Life, coming to you with the AA Word of the Day for August 3rd. And the word of the day is to be of service. This is a continuation of the last reading. And the quote today is from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. If you are new, the book is called Alcoholics Anonymous, but it's a very thick book. It tells many people's stories. It's been updated, and it's called the Big Book, the Blue Book, the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. So that's what we speak of here. AA has a lot of approved literature, but you can't go wrong if you get a copy of Alcoholics Anonymous. Many groups, when you walk in, they give you a ticket, and they have a drawing at the end of the meeting, and you get your pick, your choice of the literature they have at the literature table. Not all groups, but most of the ones I've been with. This is a way for them to disseminate a lot of the AA literature. And this is how it wasn't a new copy that I got. It was old, and in fact, that made it more precious to me because someone had used that before me and gained the wisdom from AA. But here is a quote. Our real purpose is to fit ourselves to be of maximum service to God and the people about us. And this is the quotation from the Daily Reflections book. That's a pocket-sized book with a gray cover, and it has readings for every day. And it's nice to wake up or go to bed with a reading from Daily Reflections. It is clear that God's plan for me is expressed through love. God loved me enough to take me from alleys and jails so that I could be made useful participant in his world. My response is to love all of his children through service, and by example I ask God to help me imitate his love for me through my love for others. So we begin to see that service is a big part of AA, and it is not just service of going out. You can do a lot of in-house things at a meeting. You could be a cleanup person. You could be a setup person. You could be a coffee maker. You could be a raffle person. You could work at the service table. You could be a treasurer. You could be a secretary. Maybe you don't know what those mean, but the treasurer is pretty evident what that is. A CSR and a GSR, Central Service Representative. This person goes to the meetings for their area. Each state, Florida has a lot more than Rhode Island did, but I was a CSR for my group in Rhode Island, and we met once a month, and we discussed the plans of Rhode Island and AA, coming up. What kind of, there may be some social events, the Treasury, how things are going, what are the trends. One of the trends before I left Rhode Island was that donations were down significantly. Why? Because people have gone to paying everything with credit cards, and you don't have any money in your pocket, you have a credit card. So they did eventually come up with a plan to where you could give a donation every month through your credit card. When I started in 91, I worked for a bank, and the ATM cards were actually called ABIDs, ABID, automatic banking inquiry devices. You can get the balance. You couldn't take money out at that point. So you can do that. You could be a greeter. Greeter was a perfect thing for me because I felt so self-conscious. I couldn't remember names, but I could say hello. And that's what I did. And I got to know everybody's name. A whole room of maybe 150 people. I got to know them. You could do the prison ministry. You could accept calls from AA if someone in desperate straits that wants to talk to someone that might be picking up a drink. That's very important work. You could be a visitor to people that are in the hospital, a psych hospital or a regular hospital. I've done that several times with people that were in tough shape, the jackpots they got when they were drinking. I mentioned before one gentleman who invited all his drinking buddies to his house, and it was practically destroyed. And he was physically assaulted and in very bad shape. And I visited him every day in the hospital, and when he got out, and then 10 years later, he thanked me. I mean, he thanked me right on the spot, but he came back when he had his 10th anniversary. He had to move out of state for his job, and that was something. You could be on the Speakers Bureau and they need a speaker somewhere. Or you could join a group that does speaking work. I was in several of those. Every week, my group would say the meeting was on Saturday. We'd have a group come to us on Saturday. And if the group that came to us had a meeting on Tuesday, then we would reciprocate and go speak to them. And what's the value of that? Well, you know, if you're at a very, very small meeting, you have a small pool of people to draw on to share their experience, strength, and hope. And many of them you heard many times. I've been to a meeting where it was only me and another person, and we both knew each other, and so you try to, tell your story in a different way to make it interesting to someone that's heard it. You could work on the annual convention in Rhode Island. They had an annual convention in Newport, and that was a big event, and they needed so many volunteers, so many, and they were great. 3 days of getting together on a long weekend, kind of like a national convention, but it drew a lot of people because it was right. The hotel was right on the water. It was a beautiful setting, and it was, I'm trying to think of the exact date, but it was either September or October when the weather was still good, and it was wonderful. So these are just a few of the things. You're only limited by your imagination, and you can be of service. And of course, there is actually helping the sick and suffering alcoholic one-to-one, becoming a sponsor, having a sponsee, getting a sponsor. It's important to get a sponsor, a very good sponsor, and learn from them so that you can help other people. So those are a few of my ideas on service. I've done every single one of the ones that I wrote down, so I know it can be done. And it gets you out of yourself. I was very cerebral when I came into AA. A lot of thoughts in my head, a lot of ways I thought I could fix everything. They didn't have to read the book, so you just listen to me. And of course, things changed, and I realized what hubris I had and what a blowhard I was. And I really, really enjoyed doing service. And I still enjoy doing service. So that's my word not my word, AA's word for August 3rd. Have a safe and sober day, and we'll see you tomorrow.